to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast, the most listened to daily Miami Dolphins podcast on the internet.
Miami's got Dolphins, the greatest of all.
Come on, Dolphins fans. Time to fins up.
We're in the air, we're on the ground, we're always in control. And when you say Miami, you're talking Super Bowl. Cause we're the Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins number one. Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins number one.
Good evening, Miami Dolphins fans. How are you today? And thank you for listening to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast on this Tuesday, April 22nd. I'm your host, Michael Leva, joined by our good friend Josh Moser of WSVN 7, South Florida's #1 news station, just in case you were wondering. Josh, how you doing? It's draft week.
Oh, it's crazy. We're a *1 news station? What? Is that real?
Yeah, that's what they say.
What they say?
That's what the tagline says.
Oh, my God. I'm good. I'm excited. Down here, I feel like everyone knows Cam Ward's going to go #1. So that storyline's kind of played out. That's the expectation. But I think there's so much intrigue about who the Dolphins are going to take with this first-round pick. And no matter who it is, it's going to be love-hate. Like, you're going to get, I love it, I hate this pick. And I think that's the best part about the Dolphins fans, especially ones that watch the show. And it's just like, God, here we go again. And I think the best thing was Chris Greer saying at the last press conference, the fan that sent him the shirt that don't F this up.
Don't F this up.
I mean, here we go. I mean,
fan base is passionate.
Dolphin, or are they going to get it right? I mean, it's kind of what it is.
And I said this last night. It's like nobody has any sympathy for Chris Greer right now. And a lot of the problems are self-inflicted. With that said, nothing he does on Thursday night is going to make everyone happy because they have so many needs. If they take an offensive lineman, what are you taking that for? We got no corners and safeties. Yeah. If he takes a corner and safety, we're going to run the offensive line again. No matter what he does, his fan base is going to be bad. Now, again, no one has any sympathy for him right now because a lot of the stuff is self-inflicted, but he is in a no-win situation with the majority of this fan base right now, and that's just reality of the NFL, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's more interesting just specifically pertaining to the Dolphins because you're one of the longest tenured general managers. You've been there since 2016. We saw this Laramie Tunsil trade was phenomenal that basically turned it on all of these picks. But now here we are. Okay, we really didn't get a championship out of it. And now Jalen Ramsey, who you just made the highest paid cornerback in the league before the start of last season, now wants out, basically saying, without saying it, that, sorry, guys, you're not going to contend for a Super Bowl, so I don't want to waste my time here. My plan was supposed to play alongside Xavier Howard, and he's not even on the roster anymore because you let him walk. So, we talk about it being a results-based business. Here's Greer, who's had all of this time, and basically the results haven't come. You haven't won a playoff game. So here we are with Mike McDaniel now entering his 4th year. He likes certain players. Luckily, Anthony Weaver's back for year 2, but it just seems like no matter what the Dolphins do in this draft, free agency, they are so far behind the Bills, let alone the rest of the top of the AFC that, I mean, I feel as fans or someone that even covers the team, you're looking at like a 6 or a 7 seed at best if you even make the playoffs.
Yeah, that's true.
So then what? Like now you're just going to start over again. But it's kind of weird because if there was like a true hot seat for Mike McDaniel and Greer, like you'd think they would start to like mortgage the farm here and like start to get a little bit.
I've been saying it all offseason. That's why they're not on the hot seat, in my opinion, because their actions speak louder than words. None of their actions match that they're on the hot seat. It just doesn't.
Right. So like you got to do something to, at least be sexy or protect your livelihood so they can build some buzz, anything. Unless, you've got some sleeper that you just expect to have a great year. Kader Cahoon might be the only name, but right now we haven't seen him play outside very well. He always gets burned when he's on the outside. Great when he's in the slot. Great when he's in the nickel. But, yeah, so many holes. And you just hope that you get a player in round 1 that starts right away, that becomes a Pro Bowler. You hit it last year with Chop Robinson. And then you need to hit in rounds 2 and you need to hit in rounds 3. And I mean, you go back to the Eagles. I've said this before. It's like in the last, since 2019, like all their top picks have turned into Pro Bowlers. So not starters, like you have hit on your guys. And when you get guys on their first contract, that's when you can build sustained championship success, even with a $200 million quarterback. So that's the mold.
And I think what the Eagles do, which is such a simplistic approach, I think at the end of the day, they don't overthink it. This guy is a good football player from a big-time school, Georgia, Alabama, mainly Georgia, Ohio State, and they just take good football players coming out of college. They don't look at, like, what's his time in the – yes, they look at that stuff, but they don't live and die by that stuff. They just take quality football players. And I think if you just look at their past few years, like everyone they take, it's not so much they have the highest type of potential, but they have a high floor. I mean, they're probably not going to be a bust at the end of the day. And you get enough of those guys and just stack them round after round, year after year. For a few years, you're going to have a really good team like the Eagles got. And I want to share this comic because this is a perfect example. And Matt, this is nothing against you. I love you, Matt. Everyone's obsessed with the quarterback. We have bigger needs. But when Tua goes down next year and misses a month, everyone's going to say, our quarterback room stinks. How come we don't address the quarterback position? Literally nothing we do is going to make people happy, and that's the problem.
I actually like the Zach Wilson signing. I think that's an underrated signing.
We're going to talk about that more at the end, but I am with you there. But the room overall is just two people. I think it needs to expand, but we'll talk about that. First, let me get to some of this business. Shout out to the sponsor of today's show, Caneswear. Everyone go to the website, caneswear.com, for the best and most affordable Miami Dolphins apparel on the internet. If you need a Dolphins hat, hoodie, t-shirt, polo, jersey, shorts, swim trunks, or anything for the home, something for the car with the Dolphins logo, caneswear.com. They got stuff for the Miami Hurricanes, Florida Panthers, Miami Heat, Miami Marlins, and some of the other colleges in the state of Florida. They ship internationally as well. caneswear.com. Also, go to Dolphins Talk Extra, patreon.com/Dolphins Talk a month. Bonus podcast, bonus shows, private message board. You're automatically entered into contests to win autographs, bobblehead dolls, and all that stuff. Best $3 you ever spent. Last Friday, with not most, but a chunk of our extra members, we had an interactive mock draft. We released it to everyone on our YouTube channel. Watch it. Had a bunch of laughs, had a bunch of fun. That's the type of content you get at Dolphins.
$3. It's worth it.
$3
cheaper than Starbucks for a month.
I know, really. And this week with the draft, we're going to have podcasts each night, myself and Tom, to recap what Miami did Thursday, Friday, Saturday. But during the draft, live stream Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Thursday, Friday, Josh and myself and Aaron are going to be live. Special guests are popping in. Josh Moser's one of them, I'll tell you. And we got a couple other surprises I don't want to spoil. And then Friday night, same group, and our new correspondent, Dolph Freaky, boots on the ground in Wisconsin, Green Bay, reporting from the scene, going to give us a feel from Mike McCarthy way of what's going on Friday night. So tune in to see Dolph Freaky, our new correspondent here at DolphinsTalk.com, boots on the ground. So that's what's going on this week.
Green Bay is a destination. I know the Dolphins played there last year, but for anyone listening, it's a bucket list. You've got to go spend a day. It's worth whatever money once in your lifetime. Just go experience it. I promise you will not be disappointed. Lived there for 4 years.
Yeah. I know. It's one of these days I want to go there. I have to get to Canton and I have to get to there. Those are the two places I want to get to. I've seen a lot of stadiums, and I know all the ones now are so nice and they're all have their own twist, but it's cool. But really, Canton, I want to go for like a long weekend, and Lambeau just for something I want to see. Those are two places I do want to go.
Yeah, fly to Cleveland, Rock and Roll Museum, go to Canton for a day.
Yeah, and I know people like to crap on Cleveland. Not a bad city to hang out in. They got a lot of nice restaurants and bars. It's surprisingly a great city. I know people like to crap on it, but it's really a good city for like a weekend. It really is.
The downtown's great. Everything's like
awesome.
All walkable. The draft was there a few years back when the Dolphins took Jalen Waddle and Jalen Phillips. We were there for that. And the Heat are about to go down 2-0 tomorrow night. So,
I got
to the land we go.
I got a family filled with fans of the Browns. So my entire childhood, probably once a year for like 6 or 7 years straight, we always went to Cleveland. So I spent a lot of time in Cleveland, but it is a lot of fun. It really is a lot of fun. All right. Dolphins' 4 biggest needs, and I don't think this is up for debate with most people. Offensive line, defensive line, cornerback, and safety. Those are the 4. If you had to rank out of those 4, which one's the biggest need that you are like, Chris Greer, circle that one. You really have to address this one this week, and maybe not necessarily round one, but you really have to hit it out of the park at that one position. Out of those four, which one is the largest need for you here?
Due to the Jalen Ramsey situation and the uncertainty there, cornerback for me is number one, simply because your most veteran outside corner, the person that you are going to rely on, is Cam Smith. And he was a high draft pick, hasn't done anything. You've got Storm Duck, that's another young player. Kaderka, who's great, but he's more of that nickel player. He's just not fit for the outside. Hopefully he can take that step. You can definitely expect him to play in that position. He's going to have to, because they don't have the bodies. The only other thing that I can think of is that there are a lot of free agents still out there. So whether they add them through the draft or through free agency, I expect them to add at least 2, if not 3 cornerbacks. And you brought in the 2 safeties in the offseason. Chris Greer says he believes that that is his starting safety tandem. You do get Elijah Campbell back as well. But, you know, the way that successful defenses are built is you're really strong up front in the trenches. You're a little bit weak in the middle, and then you've got your back end that's really strong. So you're a little soft in the middle. So that's what we've seen. That's been the trend. And right now, just the Dolphins need players. They need players that can play right away. So we were talking about this a minute ago, Mike, where you were saying that you look at the Eagles and they don't necessarily pick the players with the most potential. They pick them with the highest floor. So like where you know you're going to get a solid player. You need an NFL-ready guy now. This isn't taking an Austin Jackson in the first round that's 20 years old, that's going to be a hopeful starter based on potential down the road. This is, you need a guy that is proven, that's physically ready, that's going to play for you week 1 and start. And hopefully you hit that at number 13.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that is the biggest need. And one thing we know about Chris Greer, just looking at his draft history, and it's very easy to follow. He loves his cornerbacks very early in the draft. Cam Smith round 2, most recently. Before that, Noah Ibenagany round 1, and that's when he had on the roster that year Xavier Howard and Byron Jones. I'm still taking Noah. You know, he didn't care. So he loves cornerbacks early. The 2 that most, I'm not going to count Travis Hunter, because obviously he's going to go
He's
top
going
3.
to Cleveland.
Yeah, he's going to Cleveland or wherever. And so we're talking Will Johnson, Michigan, and Janae Barron of Texas. From a lot of the, there are some teams that have Will Johnson as a top 1, and then there's some teams that have it flipped and have the kid from Texas as higher. So I think one of the 2 will be there. Will they both be there? I don't know. But I think one of the 2 will be there if Chris Greer wants to take one. The kid from Texas, I kind of like him a little bit more. He's got more speed, more versatility to play inside and outside. He has experience at both. Will Johnson's mainly just an outside corner. Janae Barron, though, has got a little versatility. I don't think you can go wrong either way. Let me say that. But if it's one of those 2, I think a lot of fans of Dolphins are going to just be very happy with that pick. It's a very safe pick at a position of need. Would you agree?
100%. I think you take either of them. I understand that owner Stephen Ross is from Michigan. Everyone's going to say, let's keep the owner happy. Like, look, that has nothing to do with this. I agree with you. I think there's a little bit more versatility in Barron, but I think that's what's going to take him off of the board first. I think a more intriguing scenario is what happens if they're both still there. And I understand that the Dolphins have 10 picks. Personally, I think it would be, what's the right word I want to use here? Inopportune to take 10 players in this draft. I would like to see Chris Greer package some of these picks and move up and down and really get impact players. So everyone says the way that the board falls, but if you know in round 1 that there are 5 guys that will start day 1 that you love, and 4 of the 5 of them are still there at 13, move down, get another pick, and then move back up with all your ammunition. So you're looking realistically, doesn't matter what rounds you take them in, you need 3 starters out of this draft class this year. And so can you find 3 players out of your 10 picks? So personally, I wouldn't want to keep 10 rookies. It's a big class. If you can get it down to 8 and, basically guarantee money to 4 of them, I think that's really where you want to be. And those 3 of the 4 have to start day 1. So if you want to realistically compete in the AFC East this year, that's just kind of where we're at. So we'll see what happens. But I would love them to take that corner, and we'll see how the board falls. We know that they need help in the trenches, and they need help on the trenches on both sides. And I talked again to another general manager this week, and he kind of reiterated Brian Gutekunst is really the one that really believes in this, the general manager of the Packers. The hardest type of player to find in the draft is a big guy that can move. And when you're talking about the offensive or defensive line, if you can find that special athlete at that size, that is what's going to separate you. Teron Armstead would be one of them out of the HBCU, obviously multi-time Pro Bowler retiring. David Bakhtiari was another one who's a late round pick out of Colorado. So if you can find those types of guys, that's really going to allow your team to take a next step. And the issue is that everybody's looking for the same one. So how do you find which one's going to be great in that middle round? I know there's a kid out of Miami, Jalen Rivers, that has, a little bit of potential. He's got the size. He's a little bit raw, but he's somebody that could be a starting left tackle. And then you hope that, Patrick Paul in the second round last year is your starting left tackle, which Chris Greer says he is. But just so many question marks. And, just at the very least, just don't be boring,
Exactly. And there's been years where he's been very boring. I remember 2020 when they had all those picks, 3 picks round 1, 2 picks round 2. People thought wheel and deal, get the guys you want. He stayed pat the entire draft. And it's like, you have all these picks. And I'm not saying move just for the sake of moving, but it's like you could have maybe moved around. And I think he did slide down for the pick with Noah, but he moved down like 1 or 2 spots with the Packers, who took Jordan Love to get but that was like his only trade. It's like, really, that's it? Like, you could have, like, that 1 pick at the end of round 2. You have so many picks. Try to move that one up higher, get a higher pick in round 2. But he didn't do anything. So, well, I don't know. Look, this offseason has been very, very boring, if there's a word for it. And they've been very prudent in a lot of ways, I guess you could say. Well, very conservative. Very conservative.
That's more due to the salary cap. And that's, that they put themselves in that situation.
But they could have restructured some deals, and they didn't do any of that either.
Yeah, that's another, as we talk about hot seat, that would have freed up some cap space to win this year. So maybe it's part of the 5-year plan.
Yeah, 5-year plan going on year 26. Let's talk about some of the other 3 needs. Cornerbacks, one, I think I agree. And I'm even going to toss out safety because that's kind of all fits into the secondary scope.
Right.
Next, would you say offensive line or defensive line? And it's very interesting because I know so many fans just want like every pick to be an offensive lineman because they feel the problem with our quarterback, if there is a problem, is because he doesn't have a good offensive line, which I always point to. Yeah, it's not great, clearly. No one's going to argue that. But if you look at all of his injuries, they have nothing to do with the offensive line. Not one of his injuries have anything to do with the offensive line at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, from a true area of need, if you're actually looking at the players on the roster, you need a defensive tackle just simply because you don't have one. As of right now, you have on paper, you're starting 5 offensive linemen. They're there, they're in the building. Obviously, health will be a factor, but you legitimately do not have a defensive.
You got one guy.
You have Zach Sealer, Benito Jones is the backup. Emmanuel Ogba's gone on the outside. You don't know what Jalen Phillips is going to be. Chop Robinson's there, but the most important thing in the NFL is getting to the quarterback. That's all it's predicated on right now. So you need guys that can create that pressure, whether from the inside or from the outside. And in a perfect world, a guy that can be a little bit of a hybrid of both. But specifically, when we talk about needing wins in December and January, which this team just has struggled with, we won't even bring up February. You have to figure out how to stop the run, make them one-dimensional, and go from there. And to do that, we saw what Christian Wilkins and Zach Sealer did that 1 year that they were together. And they were special. Christian got paid all the money. And here's Zach, who was the MVP of the team last year and is severely underpaid, in my opinion. But you need to get that man some help. And I think based off of the talent in the draft, you're going to have multiple opportunities to go find a starting defensive tackle in rounds 2 and 3. There are multiple players that fit that profile. Now, that being said, I know we disregarded safety. If that kid Starks, the the defensive back from Georgia. Is there. If he falls, trade up and go get that guy. That guy, I think, is going to be phenomenal. I hate to bring up the name Minkah Fitzpatrick. I know he's just like Minkah Fitzpatrick. Yeah.
But
Minkah, you knew day one was going to be a Pro Bowler, and it's a shame they didn't want to play here. But he's a stud, and this kid Starks is a freaking stud. But yeah, go get yourself a defensive tackle early. And look, you've seen it. 4 years. We just saw this with Javon Holland. It's crazy. For $15 million a year, I would have kept him. You had the cap space to do it. But new start, great. But you should be able to find a very, very serviceable defensive tackle in the rounds 2 and 3, and that you got a lot of talent, a lot of talent there.
Yeah, I think I picked 48. 2 names to keep an eye on if they go that route would be Alfred Collins out of Texas and Alexander, whose name slips in mind right now, from Toledo. I know it's a smaller school, but he's a grown-ass man. Those are 2 interior guys that could probably start next to Zach Sealer right away. There's also the guy from Ohio State, Hamilton, I think. I know they got a couple. Their names slip my mind right now. So, yeah, those are guys I think round 2, pick 48. If they go somewhere else in round 1, you target there. Now, if they do, because I know there was a report yesterday. Oh, who was it? I forget. I mean, once again, it's like lying season, so you take the stuff all with a grain of salt. One of the reporters said Miami is possibly targeting Grant from Michigan in round 1 at pick 13. So would that shock me? No. The other tackle I like a lot, which again, even if they took him at 13, it wouldn't be a bad pick. If they can trade down and get like one more pick in the top 100, wouldn't be bad either. Is Harmon out of Oregon? Yeah. I think he is. He's also a grown-ass man walking in this league who I think can play. Walter Nolan, I think that's a little too high, 13. But, you know, if they slide down to the end of round 1, he's in play there. So if they go that route round 1, those are the 3 names to keep an eye on there. Mason Graham is probably not going to fall to them. But if he did, it'd be great. But it ain't happening.
It ain't happening.
But round 2, yeah, there's a lot of names in that round 2, round 3 range that would be fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, again, you're trying to add quality football players, again, that, you know, may not be. I mean, Aaron Donald's a freak, and I know it's like you need a guy that could come in that's ready and that's mentally also ready. And the defensive tackle, how do I want to put this nicely? You know,
just say it.
I'm just going to say it. It's see ball, get ball in that position.
Yeah,
like, there's not a lot of thinking there.
It's easy to transition from college to pro. There were some positions like corner, wide receiver, quarterback. There's a lot of growing pains. Nose tackle ain't one of them. Put your head down, put your arms out, push a line of scrimmage, and tackle the guy with the ball. There ain't much to think about there.
Right, and I mean, we lost him 2 years ago, and he was a high draft pick out of Bama. The great size, 6'7", went to Indy. His name
Raekwon Davis.
Raekwon
Davis.
I mean, like,
he's hurt now too. Yeah.
But I mean, he was a high draft pick that never, I would say, lived up to his full potential. But that man's going to play in the league for another, you know, as long as he's
actually unsigned right now, but he's hurt, which is what scares some teams because he's so tall and he's hurt. That scares teams how he's going to rebound. But he still is unsigned, so they might want to consider re-signing him just because they literally have nobody else.
Exactly. Calais Campbell has that build too. And I mean, you know, these 6'8" guys that are athletic. Obviously, Calais had the basketball background, which makes him ridiculous. I mean, you know, Antonio Gates just went in the Hall of Fame. But if you can find those types of guys, especially at that size, they're just freaks, and there's no one knows how to deal with them. Just go be athletic. I mean, that's really all you have to do at that position. And there's definitely those guys there that should be Friday picks.
Yep. And on the offensive line, real quick here's what I'm going to say. Fans, and I'm going to throw myself into this too. We can't be hypocrites about this, where we complain they don't do enough for the offensive line, but now we look at all the needs on defense, and there's a ton of them. If they take an offensive lineman in round 1, you can't be like, can you believe they took one? No, they're fine. If they address it in round 1, I know they have needs at corner. They have needs on the line, like we said, with just Zach Sealer, really, and stuff. But if they go offensive line, it's not a bad pick because they're not going to fill all these needs in one draft. It's just unrealistic. So if they can help secure this offensive line by adding Kelvin Banks from Texas, who can play inside, hopefully at, you know, slot. If they can put him inside, and God forbid Paul doesn't work out, or Austin Jackson, the one guy who gets hurt more than our quarterback, he's always out. They have to slide him outside the tackle. That's great. Got some flexibility. Membo probably won't fall. Will Campbell probably not going to fall. But if they take Kelvin Banks, if he's there, it's not a bad pick because, again, this offensive line needs – you don't want to see Liam Eichenberg start next year. And right now, he's penciled in as a starter on April 22nd.
Yeah, I mean, again, you cannot find and have enough protectors, and especially for Tua, which we know his history. Obviously, you made the upgrade in the quarterback room, but that was solely based off of what your experience was last year. I mean, you basically let Mike White go because he was more expensive. You thought Skyler could be something, and now we have Zach Wilson, which we don't know what it's going to be. But realistically, there were 4 games when Tua was out. You won one of those 4 games, you're in the playoffs. Won more of them. And, I mean, that's really what the season came down to. So –
and they got to run the ball in 3rd and 4th and short, which they can't do right now.
Well, I mean, that's what when you talk about winning games in cold weather, especially as you look at this division, Buffalo's still outside, Patriots still outside, Jets are all outside. So
Pittsburgh Ravens, yeah.
Everybody's there. Kansas City, you're going to see them late. You're always going to see them. So
the Patriots.
As of right now, as we're sitting here talking, and I'm almost putting the Dolphins 3rd in the division behind the Patriots. I think them and the Patriots are next.
Too.
They're just, you don't know what they're going to be, but there's so much excitement and buzz in that building right now. And, but again, it's, can you get the opposing team's quarterback on the ground? Because you can, I don't mean to say it like this, but when the opposing team's starting quarterback is out, as we've seen with Tua, when he's out, life is a lot easier. So I'm not saying go out and hurt somebody, but I'm saying it's a big difference.
Yeah. Which that's going to lead to our last topic here is quarterback. And again, no one is saying take a quarterback in round 1 or 2. So before everyone jumps off a cliff, no one is saying that. But when you have 10 picks, you have pick 98, you have 2 picks in round 4, 116, 135, 2 picks in round 5, 150, 155. I think with those picks, I'm not counting the round 7 ones because that's like, those are a lot of the Skylar Thompsons of the world. And before everyone says, but Brock Purdy, that's like 1 out of 100. And that you can't, that's not a plan. Okay, let's just talk about 2 picks round 4, 2 picks round 5, and even pick 98. Again, they can say it's not a rebuilding year. It is. And no one's going to take a quarterback here with the thought he's going to replace the starter. But Zach Wilson, I like the signing like you. Still unproven. We don't know what Zach Wilson is. Struggled mightily with the Jets. Last year, the Broncos didn't play a snap. Nice things were said about him, how he improved, worked hard behind the scenes, showed up every day. Very good. So I like the signing too. But again, we don't know if Zach Wilson, if he has to play, is going to be the guy we saw with the Jets who just wasn't any good. There is that possibility. And with only 2 quarterbacks on the roster, it's okay to burn a 4th or a 5th round pick on a quarterback because we need to, just like the offensive line, you need to keep investing in a quarterback position. Yes, whoever you take might only be a number 2 quarterback for 7 years. Guess what? As we've learned, number 2 quarterbacks are important. If you get a good one in round 4 or 5, sign me up right now, and I am not against that. Would you agree or disagree with my premise?
No, 100%. I mean, it's the most important position, I would argue, in all of sports, and not just football. So you have to have players that are available, and you have to have someone that can step in right away and that can be successful. And that's why you paid Zach Wilson the money that you did. I think it was $6 million, but he could make up to $10 million with incentives. Obviously, there's a couple teams that really don't have a day one starter that went out and basically paid big money to 2 quarterbacks. Indianapolis comes top of mind. You just don't know what you're going to get with Anthony Richardson. Then, we'll see what happens here with Jameis Winston, what he decides to do, if he can, be the starter there. So you need some.
Well, no, because that's going to be Russell Wilson with the Giants now.
Mm-hmm. And then you're talking about potentially taking Shador at 3, which is, in my opinion, is not going to happen.
Or Dart at the top of round 2, or slide back into late round 1 and take Dart maybe.
I really see Hunter going 2 to Cleveland, and I see Drew Rosenhaus's Klein Abdul Carter going 3 to.
Oh, he's got Abdul Carter? That's a nice one. Yeah, that's a nice one to have.
So I think you're good. I think it's going to be. Well, I mean, as much as I would love to see Travis Hunter in New York and how great it would be for the game of football, and obviously the big media market, and honestly, I'd love to see Abdul Carter paired with Myles Garrett.
Me too.
As a fan, like that'd be special. So we'll see what happens here, but I mean, just Hunter from like the comps, and the last receiver to go number 2 was Megatron, and they're saying that the comps that Hunter has as far as like speed, breakaway ability, like route running, like he's considered a top 5 prospect in the last 10 years in the wide receiver position, let alone playing cornerback 30% of the time or whatever it is. Now, if I'm the Dolphins, am I trading up to the number 2 pick? Like, it's going to cost you way too much. It's not happening. But yeah, you got to invest in your quarterback. We'll bring up the story just because this is when stories just kind of like go wild and then try to
wild. People read into it way too much.
Let me preface this and just say, in talking to multiple agents and multiple agencies around the league, this is when certain agents leak stories to media and certain people so that they can create a buzz to try to move their clients up the draft board. This is a tactic. This happens. This is
strategery.
Yes. So don't believe anything you read in the next 48 hours. I am telling you now, get off of X. Like, none of it is true. Like, this is playing the game, working for your clients. And that's the best part of, like, you can actually understand like what the vehicle is. It's like a PR person going to say, hey, we're the best, like, go promote our product. This is literally what's taking place in the next 48 hours. So Quinn Ewers, big name out of Texas. The Dolphins took him to lunch. Obviously.
Oh no, they took him for a steak dinner, I think. Steak dinner, not lunch.
Excuse me.
He's not having a turkey club. He wants a porterhouse.
Yeah, I mean, and when you're in Austin, Texas, like, you got to have a porterhouse.
Yeah.
So look, Mike McDaniel, sexy storyline, big school, obviously a lot of success at the collegiate level. He's slated to be a 5th or 6th round pick. And as you said, I agree with you, like, spend it on him, and why not? Like, if you have a quarterback room with him, Wilson, and Tua, I think great, happy with it. And you're paying him $700,000, whatever. Like, great. That it makes a lot more sense for me to do that than to go grab Marcus Mariota, again, and spend all the money to sit on your bench. So you're doing that with Wilson. He's that guy. But you need to start, I don't want to use the word groom, but you need to start, like, nurturing that.
Have a pipeline of guys ready to go.
Exactly.
So God forbid,
something happens.
This is not to replace Tua, but he has a tendency to get hurt and miss months at a time. If this happens, this year, whoever you take around 4 or 5, they probably won't be ready. But next year, if they're still in your program, learning your offense, guess what? They might be able to step in and actually play a little bit and help you win games. So you're not depending on the Tyler Huntleys of the world, the Skylar Thompsons of the world, the Tim Boyles of the world to win games. You have a guy who's been in your system for a year or more, who you used a mid-round pick on, who's got some potential. And if you strike lightning in a bottle, hallelujah, you just hit the jackpot.
Right. I mean, and I'll use Aaron Rodgers and the Packers just because I had a lot of experience with them. You knew that Aaron was going to be the guy. Up until Jordan Love, they were still taking quarterbacks in the 4th round. And then they were letting Aaron teach them. And then they basically would flip them for a draft pick. So they draft him in the 4th. A couple of years later, they'd flip it for a 3rd round pick. So, like, there's your pipeline. And then if they need to step in and play, Brett Hundley comes to mind, was a starter in Arizona for a while, out of UCLA. Like, so there's players that, like, you can do this. And remember, GMs for this draft specifically, well, normally the Dolphins need players now, but you're almost looking a year ahead. That's why they took Devon Achane a year ahead. So you're thinking for now, you're thinking for the next year, and a quarterback you're definitely going to need in the next year. So if you can get one that you like, grab him now.
And 2 things. Zach Wilson, 1-year deal. So even if he does play and he plays great, he might price himself out of Miami. So he ain't here next year. You're going to need a number 2 quarterback to replace him. If you already got someone in your system that you're preparing, great. That's why you pay people like Darrell Bevell to work with the quarterbacks and coach them up. That's number 1. Number 2, this has nothing to do with the starter because next year's quarterback class as a whole is much stronger. You got the kid from LSU, Nussmeier. You got Allen. You got Nico after all the headlines he's made, which he's still a very good player. He's going to be in that class. Arch Manning, possible. I don't know. I think people assume he's going to be. He's someone who doesn't need money because he comes from a rich family. So I think he's going to do what's best for Arch. And if that means one more year in college, he might do that. So it's a stronger class. And you got the kid from Penn State too. I mean, it's a stronger class. So if Miami moves on from our starter after this year, it's going to be in that class, not this class.
Right. But here's the crazy thing about Arch Manning, or I'll use NIL in general with Nico too. You're probably going to make more money
in college.
Like Carson Beck is a perfect example. This man's getting paid $4.3 million by the University of Miami for this year.
I I've heard that's a fake number, and there's people on the Dan Lebertard show who freak out when that number's floated. It's not 4.3, it's still a lot.
Okay,
Let's just
so
say it's a lot. I've heard that number's fake.
I can tell you with 100% certainty that he's making $4 million, and that was
okay. Oh, good.
I can tell you from the person that runs the NIL department.
It's $4 million,
and I have seen the number in the books.
Okay.
But he's going to go to the. I mean, I hope that he has a great season. But
yeah,
most quarterbacks, unless you're a first round pick, you're not coming in. You're not making $4 million. You can make more money in college now. There's endorsements on the side, etc. But you can do all of that now. So I mean, shoot, look at Cam Ward. I mean, he was 0-star recruit, goes to Washington State after Incarnate Word, and he would have been a draft pick last year and then had a great year at Miami, and now he's the number 1 overall pick. He made himself, in the long run, probably 8 figures. Easy by that decision, let alone the $2 million that he made about a little over $1 million. I think it was 1.5 this last year at Miami. But
not bad.
Yeah.
Oh, not bad if you can get it in college.
I mean,
not bad. I mean,
no state tax.
No state tax.
That's what I love about Nico. That kid got screwed. He's going to pay.
He did.
Like he's taking a pay cut after the taxes.
I know. He got bad advice, and is what it is. He got really bad advice, but that's the problem with NIL is I think a lot of these kids get really bad advice sometimes, and there's got to be rules. But that's a whole different show. I'll say 2 other quarterbacks who are probably in this range around 4 or 5, if not Quinn Ewers. And I'm going to throw pick 98 because pick 98's in the compensatory range. It's pretty much after round 3 ends. It's still technically round 3. It's really the top of round 4. So I'm going to throw pick 98s in play because if they use that on a quarterback and then you come back with 116, 135, you can still address the needs with the same general players.
Yeah.
Kyle McCord out of Syracuse, my guy out of Syracuse, he's in play. And I think Will Howard out of Ohio State, there is a ton of buzz right now on Will Howard. I think he's going to be a sleeper guy who I think might be good in the NFL right away. No, but I think there's a lot of physical tools there that people like with him, who I think if someone takes him late round 3, round 4 range, I think he is going to be a very good pro in time. So I think those 3 names make the most sense. But I think the other guys, Milroe's going to be gone. Dart's going to be gone. The kid from Louisville, Shuck, however you pronounce his name, he's going to be gone. So it really comes down to McCord, Howard, Quinn Ewers, however you want to rank them or mix them up.
Yeah.
Those 3, I think, are in play for Miami from pick 98 to pick 130 or to pick 155 range. They're in play for the Dolphins.
Yeah, I mean, I know you're a Syracuse guy, and McCord, we saw him here play against Miami, and he's got the big arm. He can stretch the ball vertically down the field, which is great for your receivers. But remember, this is a zone running scheme. So he's going to have to adjust. But
he's got to harness his game a little bit,
But he's got to, he has the raw ability. And I think in that range, when we talk about like a high floor, like that kid mentally is great. We know he's got a cannon of an arm. And if he can technique it up a little bit and like really hit windows, like he has a lot of potential. The physical tools are there. It's can he take that step mentally and can he fit in this offense? But then again, like if this thing blows up and
here's what I'll say about
McDaniel's gone, then
here's what I'll say too about him. He lost 1 start at Ohio State, 1, and they ran him out of town. That would have crushed some people. Crazy. Then he goes to Syracuse, which FYI, trust me, I'll tell you, a dead football program, as dead as it can get. Nobody shows up. They invest no money in it. It was no talent. It was dead. And he took them to 10 wins in 1 season. Is it all him? No, but he was a big part of it as a quarterback, throwing for 400, 500 yards most weeks. He had only 1 horrible game, which everyone has a horrible game. It's no big deal. Outside of that, he led them to 10 wins he had some talent around him. It's not Miami talent like the Hurricanes. It's not Ohio State talent by any means. It's Syracuse talent. So there's that aspect of it where this kid has been under the enormous pressure at Ohio State and walked into a JV team and took him to 10 wins in the ACC. So that part I like. But Will Howard is also very intriguing to me as a kid who knocked out McCord at Ohio State. Really, that's why I can't leave.
And I mean, and if I'm Mike McDaniel, these are where those like pre-draft meetings really and these are where your relationships come in. And, you got to find the guy that you vibe with that clicks. Like there's people you just have conversations. Like you'd be a great person, but like your personalities just don't really mesh. Like you got to find that guy that's personality can mesh, that's coachable. Any one of those 3 would be great. But Yeah, well, we'll see what happens here.
Just like there's only one way to wrap this conversation up. Just like in the movie Draft Day, how many people showed up to his birthday party? Does he have any friends?
Yeah.
It's true. You got to read into stuff like that.
You know, when you hire Puff Daddy as your agent based off of everything that you've done, it says all you need to know right there. It's a movie, everybody.
Yeah.
But what was that kid's name in the movie? The quarterback that went to
I can't remember the kid's name. Yeah,
Bo Callahan.
Bo Callahan. That was it. Bo Callahan.
Love it.
Yeah. And it's so funny. You just mentioned the rapper as the agent, which takes me back to the year Ricky Williams was drafted. He had Master P as his agent, which was a horrendous mistake. You know what? Next time I have him on, Ricky, because I've had him on a few times with a Master P. I got to ask. That's one thing I've never asked him about, the whole Master P thing. How do you get tied up in that?
Oh.
I think if he had a redo, although with Ricky, probably no, he might be like, you know what? Yeah, I probably should have went with Lee Steinberg.
You got to have him tell the Drew Rosenhaus story. He made Drew fly to Australia, sign a piece of paper, and he said, okay. So Drew literally flew to Australia, was there for 20 minutes, signed him, and then flew straight back. Like 20 hours on a flight each way.
Next time I have him on.
Just chilling there like, man, cool.
He's been on twice, and it's always great because I've asked him to play in minor league baseball. I've asked him when he was
I love
on
Ricky.
The Apprentice. Like he's got his life is like so vast and things he's done on the field and off the field. And then you ask him if he still watches. He goes, Saturdays, I might catch like 10, 20 minutes of the game in Texas. Sundays, if it's on the Dolphins, it's on. Like football is like the last thing on his mind nowadays. He runs Heisman, his new company, which everyone can figure out what that is. All right, Josh, thanks so much. We'll talk to you later this week here for a few minutes when the draft is happening. Be sure to follow Josh Moser on social media.
2 days ago, you should have had Ricky Williams on 420. That was a missed time.
420, I know, really. I should have. Yeah, I know, really. Follow Josh on social media at The Mo's Knows. The Mo's Knows. Ricky, he is a great guest. And what's great about him is when he sees our podcast little opening intro, he'll say, that's why I love coming on this show. I get pumped up. He goes, I'm just ready to run through some tackles watching that intro. he just, and then we're off to the races. I'm asking him everything.
Real quick, shout out to Big E.
Yeah,
for a transplant liver, got to give him some love, and
you got approved. Step one, big step one, big step one. Now we got to get on to the next phase of this here to get him healthy and back up. And yeah, he's going to join me Wednesday night for a show. So tomorrow night, be on the lookout for myself and Big E, and he'll be with us too Friday and Saturday, popping on here and there to share his thoughts on what Miami's going to do. It's going to be here's the deal. Thursday, Friday, it's going to be a lot of fun. I know everyone's watching on TV. Turn down the volume. We're going to have a lot of fun. Surprise guests coming on. You have some laughs, and we'll give our take on the picks. And and plus we're going to give away some stuff too each night. So got a chance to win some stuff. Yeah, we have some stuff to give away. Everyone, have a great rest of your Tuesday night. We'll talk to you again tomorrow and later this week. And thanks for listening.
See ya.